Donald Trump versus Joe Biden: Lessons for Africa from campaigns in 2024 elections in America. There are lots of lessons to be drawn from Joe Biden's decision to step down for Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's speech on assassination attempt on his life. Africa has a lot to learn, beginning from Joe Biden's decision to step aside for Vice President Kamala Harris. It was reported that the United States President Joe Biden has stepped aside as a candidate in the 2024 election and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. The 81-year-old president is said to have dropped out of the race after his lackluster and shaky performance last month against the Republican challenger Donald Trump. Los Angeles Times reported this issue, in an article by Faith Ipinho, written on 21st July 2024. What lessons do we learn from the decision of Joe Biden to step aside for his vice president? One, nature and age are no respecters of persons. Rather, both demand full respect from persons, irrespective of positions and status in life. 2, you don't need to wait until you walk off the stage during a debate or showcase a lackluster performance before respecting nature and age. 3, being too old to run for an office or to continue in office is neither a mortal sin nor a criminal offense, but a command of nature that you must obey, and you must either obey or be disgraced as you continue to sit tight in office. Also, mental acuity and intellectual balance are usually lost at old age, making a person to begin behaving as a child. And that is a major reason why the stepping aside of President Joe Biden is quite commendable. And things usually go wrong when a child is made a king in any society, by hook or by crook. And a person at old age who behaves like a child is also a child. Ecclesiastes, the book of Ecclesiastes, the Christian Bible, chapter 10, verse 16, warns us, "Woe to you, O land, when your king is a child." There is much need for a person of age who has become old enough to respect his age and respect nature. Maybe that's why in England, if Prince George became a king, he became king as a child. A regent would ordinarily be appointed until he became an adult, according to the Regency Act of 1973. We learn also that there is much need, especially in Africa, for an age of retirement for political office holders or a maximum age for continuing in office as a political authority to be inserted and captured in national constitutions, just as there is usually a minimum age requirement for vying for political positions. African leaders and even Americans should learn some lessons from this. There are also lessons to be learned from Donald Trump's speech on assassination attempt on his life. From his speech, we learn that apart from divine grace, no one, no matter how highly placed, can last on earth for a second. According to Donald Trump, he said, "Let me begin this evening by expressing gratitude for the outpouring of love and support following assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that the amazing thing is that prior to this shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together." Then we also learn to be careful when we feel very happy and feel that everybody is happy with us. It's not always the case. For little did Donald Trump know that not everyone on the campaign ground was very happy with him. Someone somewhere was targeting to shoot him. In his words, it was, according to him, when he narrated his experience, it was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing and a campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage and the crowd was cheering widely. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily. There is also need for us to learn to be stable and courageous amidst crisis. There is need for stability and courage when we are in crisis situations. The attitude of the crowd at the campaign arena is highly commendable and equally shows that Donald Trump is a leader whether he eventually wins or not. People were willing to sacrifice their lives for him to be saved. In his own narrative, he said that bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service, they rushed to the stage. These are great people of great risk, I tell you, who pounced on top of me so that I would be protected. And the most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, when even a single bullet is fired, just as bullets that were being fired, crowds run for their safety, run for exits or stampede. But in this case, it was very unusual. The massive crowd didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely but automatically stood up, looking for where the sniper would be. Nobody ran, and because they didn't run, there was no stampeding, and many lives were saved. It's also necessary for us to learn how to be grateful to all who in one way or another sacrificed their lives for our sake. Donald Trump expressed gratitude for the love shown by the giant audience of patriots that stood bravely on that fateful evening on his side and with him. He said that tragically, the shooter claimed the life of one of our fellow Americans, Corey Comparator, and seriously wounded two other great warriors, David Deutsch and James Copenhaver. He also spoke to the three families, the one that lost his life and the families of those who were wounded, and promised that his love and prayers will be with them. Finally, we learn also that in any devilish attack or ungodly attack on the people, that God himself is always there. And when the people are determined to succeed, the attack rather unites them rather than dividing them. Donald Trump described the attack as the spirit that forged America in her darkest hours and the love that will lead America back to the summit of human achievement and greatness. Despite such heinous attack, he said, we unite this evening more determined than ever. And he said, I am more determined than ever, and so you are. So is everybody. In conclusion, our message is that African leaders should learn their lessons from Joe Biden's acceptance to step aside for his deputy and Donald Trump's message or speech on an assassination attempt on his life at the campaign. Why Nigerian leaders learn from Joe Biden's decision to step aside for Vice President Kamala Harris and stop why African leaders, especially Nigerian leaders, should learn to step aside instead of maintaining sit-tight syndrome unnecessarily. We also learn from Donald Trump's speech on assassination attempt on his life. The African masses as well should learn to be stable and determined in their search for greener pastures, in their quest for a brighter future, in their search for a good leadership. They should be courageous, stable, and determined to face any challenge. And at the end, God will reward the efforts of Africans. May God bless you. Thanks for spending some moments to listen to this message. Feel free to subscribe to this channel or make comments on the comment section so that we can as well update and edit and then give better information and more lessons for life in the next video. God bless you immensely. Thanks for listening.